Good evening. This is the last session of our second chapter, and I'm starting this session with the 14th topic, that is capacitance in series, in the notes that I've sent you. Capacitance in series and capacitance in parallel, mostly you will only have problems to do, but anyway, we'll do the derivation first and then go into the problems. Here, capacitance in series, let's consider three capacitors. The first capacitor having capacitance C1, the second with capacitance C2, and the third with capacitance C3, all connected in series to a battery of voltage V, potential difference V. Now here, you've already done resistors in series and resistors in parallel in class 10. So there you would have known that when you connect in series three resistors, if you have a potential difference, a battery giving a potential difference V, it provides a current that goes from the positive terminal to the negative terminal of the battery. And so from this circuit diagram, it's clear that the same current passes through all the three capacitors and comes back to the negative terminal of the battery. So all the three capacitors should carry the same current. Same current would mean I equal to Q by T, which means if they are carrying the same current, then all of them will carry the same charge on their plates. That is, if this is charged with plus Q, then the other plate is minus Q. This also will carry the same charge, minus Q. This capacitor also will carry the same charge. So all capacitors will carry the same charge if they are in series because they are all carrying the same current. But the potential difference here will be V1 and this will be V2 and this will be V3, and the potential difference V1 plus V2 plus V3 must give you the total potential V. So here when we do the derivation, we know that this total potential is the algebraic sum of V1 plus V2 plus and V3. Now in my previous session I had taught you that for any capacitor, capacitance is a constant which is a ratio of Q by V. From this we know V equal to Q into C. V equal to Q by C. So this is what I'm going to use here. So this can be written as, now you may replace this circuit, this three capacitors, with a single capacitance CS, meaning this CS is connected to the same potential difference V. This CS is the effective capacitance of three capacitors C1, C2 and C3 in series. So if I remove all the three capacitors, all of them, and replace it with a single capacitor, its effective capacitance is the effective capacitance of all the three, so that both these carry the same charge. So if this is plus Q, this should also be minus Q. So you have a potential difference V connected in both the circuits. It's carrying the same current, so that's why all the plates have been charged the same charge. And this C1, C2, C3, their effective capacitance is replaced by a single capacitor, which is what I call as CS. So here, using this formula, I may write V is equal to Q by CS from here, carrying charge Q divided by CS. CS being the effective capacitance of all these three should be equal to Q by C1. For the first one, it's capacitance C1 carrying a charge Q, plus for the second one, it's the same charge because it's in series, but the capacitance is C2. And for the third one, also we have the same charge because C3 is also in series and divided by its capacitance C3. So then we have, if you cancel this, we have 1 by CS equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. So the effective capacitance in series will be 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3, which is the effective capacitance of all the three in series. So please remember, whenever there are capacitors in series connected to a potential difference V, The effective capacitance is 1 by Cs equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3, which is exactly opposite to what we did in resistors. But since they are all in series, they will all carry the same current and they will all store the same charge on their plates. The same three capacitors, suppose you connect it in parallel, then let's see what will happen. The same three capacitors with capacitance C1, C2 and C3, I'm now going to connect it in parallel like this. C1, C2 and C3 all connected in parallel like this to a potential difference V. So this is C1, this is C2, this is C3. Now you know in series the current will come from the battery and split into three. This will carry I1, I2 and I3 so that the total of I1 plus I2 plus I3 must be the current I that's coming from the battery. So here we have three capacitors in parallel. Now because they are in parallel, they will all have the same potential difference because you already know from 10th standard, resistors connected in parallel carry the same voltage. So in parallel, all capacitors will have the same voltage. So we may write the total charge Q will be the sum of the charges Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. That means now your first capacitor has potential V, capacitance C1. So the charge will be plus Q1 and minus Q1 because Q equal to CV. Now C2 and V, this let us say is charged to plus Q2 and this is minus Q2. These plates are minus plus Q3 and this is minus Q3. So please remember, when they are connected in parallel, all capacitors will carry the same voltage but they will carry different charges depending on their capacitance. If C3 has charge Q3, C2 which has a different capacitance will have a different charge on it and C1 with a different capacitance will have another different charge on it. So here if you replace all of them with a single capacitor whose capacitance Cp is the effective of all of them in parallel, then you may say this also has the same potential difference V and this is carrying a charge Q, plus Q and minus Q, plus Q being the total of Q1, Q2 and Q3. Total charge will be Q which is equal to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. So we have this Q. The formula for C is Q by V. So then Q equal to CV. So using that formula, the C here is CPV equal to, here the capacitance is C1 and potential difference is V. Here the capacitance is C2, same potential difference V. And here the capacitance is C3 and the same potential difference V. Now if you cancel all the common V, you will see that Cp equal to C1 plus C2 plus C3. So this is the effective capacitance of three capacitors in parallel. So please remember, in series, all capacitors will carry the same current and therefore the same charge, but they'll have different voltages. So V equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. From there, we see that 1 by Cs, the effective capacitance is always equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. Whereas in parallel, you need to remember, all the capacitors in parallel will have the same voltage, but they'll be charged differently. But the total charge will be Q equal to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. So if you replace all the three with an effective capacitor whose capacitance Cp is the effective of C1, C2 and C3, then Cp is equal to C1 plus C2 plus C3. Now after this, we go on to the last derivation in that topic, capacitors, where we are going to derive an expression for the energy stored in a capacitor. Even as I started the topic on capacitors, I had told you that capacitors is a system of conductors that can store charge and therefore store energy. Let's see how a capacitor can store energy. Now in your capacitor, the parallel plate capacitor, we have two parallel plates. Let's say initially at start they have zero charge. They are not charged at all. We are going to charge it to plus capital Q and this has to become minus capital Q because capacitors are two parallel plates charged to equal magnitudes but different sign. One is positive, the other is negative, separated by a distance d. Now initially suppose you have got zero charge. Now to charge this as positive and this as negative, from here initially this has zero charge. From here I am removing a plus 1 coulomb, transferring it here. So this will get plus 1, but here from 0 you remove the plus 1 coulomb, so this will become minus 1 coulomb. Again if I take a plus 1 to this side, this will become plus 2 coulomb, and this is going to have lost 1 coulomb, so minus 2 coulomb. So like that, you are going on transferring charges, positive charges, till you get this charge to plus q and this to charge to minus q. So you are transferring the charges from plate, let's say this is plate 2 and this is plate 1. You are displacing the positive charges in this direction. But your electric field is always in this direction, positive to negative. Electric field is a force experienced by unit positive charge. So you will see that the force experienced by the positive charge that you are transferring in this direction. So positive charge is experiencing a force in this direction because your positive charge will be attracted towards the negative plate. But you are displacing it opposite to the force experience. So the work done is going to be F dx cos 180, and that gives you a negative work done. That negative work done will be stored as energy. I have always told you, work done against a force will be stored as energy. So that is how in a capacitor, as the plates gets charged, you are transferring positive charges against the electric field, and that work done against the electric field will be stored as its energy. We are now going to find out the expression for work done. Let us take dW as the work done on a very small charge dq as you transfer it to the side. So dW can be written as V dq because you know V you already know is work done on unit charge. So work done on unit charge to bring it from infinity and place it to 1 point, or potential difference between two plates will be work done to transfer unit charge from one plate to the other plate. So work done to carry a quantity of charge dq will be V times dq because this is for unit charge. You are transferring dq charges. So V into dq will be the total work done in transferring a small amount of charge dq. So if you want to find the total work done, you need to integrate this dw or integral V dq, where dq has to start from 0. Initially they have 0 charge and finally you are charging it up to a maximum of q, capital Q. This I may write as integral 0 to q. V from here, you know already that C equal to Q by V. From my last session where we discussed capacitance, this formula I have already taught you. So from here we know V equal to Q by C. I am going to substitute that here. So this is Q by C into dQ, where C I told you is always a constant which is equal to A epsilon 0 by D if it is air or vacuum. Otherwise there is a dielectric constant also here. So we are considering the initial case where the medium between the plates is air or vacuum. So we have A epsilon 0 by D, this being the plate area, this being the distance between the plates, and epsilon 0 being the permittivity of air or vacuum between the plates. So capacitance is a constant. So I take the constant outside, and integral q dq, integral x dx I have already taught you is x square by 2. So q dq will be q square by 2, where you go from the limit 0 to capital Q. So then we have substitution. This q takes the upper limit first minus the lower limit. So this work done is stored as potential energy denoted by the letter U. So this is equal to 1 by C bracket. This takes the upper limit first. So that is q square by 2 minus this takes the lower limit. So that is 0. And our final equation will be q square by 2c. You have other forms of this equation where this q square, q as you know is CV. on any capacitor, we know capacitance is Q by V or Q equal to CV. So I may substitute this capital Q with C into V. So Q square will be C square V square by 2C. You get this as cancelled, and this is also equivalent to writing it as half CV square. Or something else you can do is, you can substitute for, here you can substitute for C. C is Q by V. So in this, if I substitute for C, this equation becomes Q square by 2 into C is Q by V. So this Q is here and V on top. This will get cancelled. So it's equivalent to writing half into QV. So these are the different equations for the potential energy of a capacitor. Q square by 2C, half CV square or half QV. So this is the derivation for potential energy of a capacitor, which is actually you start with work done on transferring a very small charge dq. Simply integrate it from transferring charge from 0 to capital Q. Now here integration, I hope you remember. If you don't, I'll just go through that once more. We wanted to integrate integral Q dq, and I have taught you the equation integral x raised to n dx is equal to x raised to n plus 1 by n plus 1. So this is what we're going to use here. So this is raised to 1. So this will be, after integration, q square, this will be q raised to 1 plus 1 by 1 plus 1. And that is how you have it as q squared by 2. So by heart and keep the integral x dx, x raised to 1 dx is x squared by 2. So immediately you know integral q dq is q squared by 2. Then the next topic that I want to discuss with you, it's a follow-up of this thing. Energy stored, you got the equation as half CV square, Q square by 2C, any of these equations, half QV. Depending on what factors are given to you, you may use that equation. Now, we need to find out an expression for energy density. Energy density means the energy stored in unit volume. For any capacitor, you know that it has parallel plates. So let's say one plate is on top with plate area A. The other plate, bottom plate, is also having the same plate area A. Let's consider the plates to be circular or rectangular in shape, whatever. So two circular plates we have. The distance between the plates is D. So the volume of such a cylinder will be the base area into height. So volume of any capacitor will be plate area A multiplied by the distance between the plates, which is the height of that cylindrical volume. So base area into height would be A into D. So whenever we are talking about energy density of a capacitor, we are talking about the energy stored in unit of volume, which is volume of the capacitor is base area, plate area A multiplied by the distance between the plates D. So here I'm going to substitute U is actually equal to Q square by 2C, or this I may write as, you know that E equal to Q by A epsilon 0. I don't know if you remember. In my last session where we dealt with capacitors, I had showed you that the capacitor with one positive and a negative plate, the electric field here is 0. Here also the electric field is 0. But between the two plates, it's sigma by epsilon 0. If you don't remember, please go through that video once more. Sigma, you know, is Q by A. So that is why I have written sigma by epsilon 0 can be written as Q by A, and there is an epsilon 0. So from here, if you cross multiply, Q is equal to A epsilon 0 into E. So that's what I'm going to substitute here. A square epsilon 0 square E square by 2C. By 2C. Okay. Now U therefore is equal to A square epsilon 0 square E square divided by 2 into C. We already know C or C naught. When there is, here we are dealing with a capacitor with air or vacuum between the plates. So we are actually talking about C naught, which is A epsilon 0 by D. So I'll substitute for C as A epsilon 0 by D will go on top. So I may cancel this and this, and a square, sorry, a is left here, but this gets cancelled. So we have this as half e square epsilon 0. Let me write it on top. After cancellation, I may write it as u equal to half e square epsilon 0 a into d. Half epsilon 0 e square a into d. Now, if you're talking about energy density, then we are talking about energy stored in unit volume. So, you need to divide this with the volume to get the energy stored in unit volume. So, then energy density becomes, this A into D will get cancelled, because if I divide it by unit volume, then there's an A into D in the denominator, and I have the expression as half epsilon 0 E square, which is the expression for energy density of a capacitor, that is energy stored in the capacitor per unit volume. So this shows you that the energy density is directly proportional to the square of the electric field. This half and the epsilon 0 are constants, so energy density is directly proportional to square of the electric field between the plates of the capacitor. So that we come to the last of the derivations. The last portion, that is 17th topic, sharing of charges. Actually, the derivation is not there, but I've given you the notes on that because it's very important when it comes to application questions and problems. So you need to understand what's happening there. So I'll be explaining that to you. That's there in your notes also. So even though that's not there in your textbook, you need to know that topic, because only then you will be able to answer application questions and also the problems in the textbook. So I'm going to teach you what we have in that topic, sharing of charges. Now in that topic, what we have done is, we have two capacitors. First, we are taking a capacitor C1 using a battery of potential difference V1. We are charging it to plus Q1 and minus Q1 on the plates. So the energy stored here will be half CV square. Previous topic, we got an equation for energy stored as half CV square. So this one's energy stored will be half C1 V1 square. You take another capacitor, and let's say its capacitance is C2, connected to a battery whose potential difference is V2, so that this gets charged to plus Q2 and this gets charged to minus Q2. Okay. Now the total energy, initially the total energy of the two capacitors will be half CV square is the formula I'm using. First one is storing half C1 V1 square. Second one stores half C2 V2 square. So that's the total energy stored by both. After that, what you do is, you disconnect the capacitors, connect the two. They have both been charged to Q1 and Q2. Now you connect the two in parallel. C1 and C2 will now be connected in parallel like this. Now when you connect it in parallel, they both must have the same voltage. They cannot have different voltages because they are now in parallel. So you know that V equal to Q by C. So because they both have different capacitance, if they must have the same voltage, they must now transfer charges till the ratio Q1 by C1 becomes equal to Q2 by C2. Because you know V across this and V across this must be the same because they are in parallel. V across this should be Q1 by C1. V across this should be Q2 by C2. So they need to share their charges till this ratio becomes same for both. Sharing of charges would mean that charges must either flow from C1 to C2 or it must flow from C2 to C1 till Q1 by C1 becomes equal to Q2 by C2 equal to both being equal to V. So now as these charges flow through them, what will happen is there will be some current flowing through the wires. The wires will get heated up and heat energy is being lost now. So when heat energy is being lost, that means the total energy of the combination will be lesser than what we have here, because initially we had this as a total energy. After that, they started to share the charges so that both of them will get the same V. And while charges flow, there is current flowing through a wire. So the wires will get heated up. Energy is lost in the form of heat, and therefore the energy stored in this parallel combination should be lesser than this initial energy. And the difference in the energy, like a loss in energy, is what we are going to find out. Now this is a parallel combination. So the effective of the two, I may draw a single capacitor Cp whose effective capacitance C1 and C2 effective capacitance I've taken as Cp. So E final will be half Cv square, where C will be the effective capacitance of the two in parallel and the potential difference V square. Now you may substitute this Cp and V. V would mean V is actually Q total charge divided by C. That means in this combination, the total charge is what we need to do to find out V, because V we know is Q by C. So if you're going to find out the V across the parallel combination like this, you need to consider this as a single capacitor whose capacitance is Cp and it stores a total charge Q total. So that's what I drew before. You have a single capacitor which is, I've replaced the two with a single one whose capacitance Cp is effective of two of them in parallel, and the charge here is what I'm going to call as a total charge stored on this. Now when I taught you the first chapter, we learned something called as conservation of charges, where we said you can't create or destroy charges. It can be transferred from one body to another body, that's all. So here the initial charge here was Q1 and this had a charge Q2 initially. Before we connected it in parallel, C1 had a charge Q1 and this had a charge Q2. So even after you connect the two together, Q total should still be Q1 plus Q2, because no charges are lost, no charges are gained. They have simply shared it among them. So the Q total must still be Q1 plus Q2 divided by Cp is, you know, C1 plus C2, because we just derived that the effective capacitance of two capacitors in parallel is C1 plus C2. Now this Q1 I may write Q equal to Cv formula. So C1 V1 plus C2 V2 by C1 plus C2 is this V across the parallel combination. So now I'm going to substitute for E final. I'm going to substitute this V here, so that I get my equation as E final is going to be equal to half into Cp is already we know C1 plus C2 into, we have this C1 V1 plus C2 V2 by C1 plus C2 the whole square. Now the whole square. Now loss in energy is, obviously the initial energy is larger than the final energy, because I told you when the two capacitors are connected in parallel, then they start to share charges. So EI should be greater than EF, because while they share the charges, there is current flowing through the wire, connection wire, and there will be loss of energy in the form of heat. So loss in energy when they are connected in parallel will be E initial minus E final. Now after, so E initial is this and E final is this. Open the bracket, subtract, and you will see, you get your final equation as C1 C2 by 2 into C1 plus C2 into V1 minus V2 the whole square. This is your final equation. After you open this bracket, subtract E1 minus E final, and you get this equation. You have to learn this equation by heart for problems. C1 is the capacitance of the first capacitor, C2 is the capacitance of the second one, and V1 is the potential difference of the first one, and V2 the potential difference of the second one. Now this formula is a formula for loss in energy when two capacitors are connected in parallel after they are charged to charges Q1 and Q2. We have a special case here. Suppose you get a problem where the charges, the two capacitors have the same capacitance. That is, C1 is equal to C2 is equal to C. And the second one, sometimes they'll tell you, is not charged. So they don't have a battery in the second one. So that the second one is 0. No charge is given to them. The second one is not charged at all. So initially, then what happens is, EI minus EF. I'm going to substitute this special condition here. C1, C2 will become C square by 2 into C1 plus C2 will become 2C. And here you just have V1 square because V2 is 0. So if I cancel this, I may write this as half into half C V1 square. Now initially, if you look at it, we had two capacitors which we charged. The first one we charged using V1 and the capacitance C1 equal to C. So I am not putting C1, I am simply putting C. And the second one, capacitor C, is not charged now. So this doesn't store energy because it's not charged. So initial energy would simply be half C V1 square for the special case. Because the second one we did not charge, it is not storing energy. So total initial energy would be just because of this one. So that's why I said initial energy here is half C1 square. So we have this as the initial energy and we may write the loss in energy in the special case where both of them have the same capacitance and the second one was not charged. So initially the second one was not storing any charge and then you connect the two in parallel. Then both of them will share the charges and the total loss in that energy will be half of, this is the initial energy. So this will be half of the initial energy. So finding the initial energy in such a case would be, you need to find only the energy of the first one. And when you connect the two in parallel, then the total energy stored will be half of what was the initial value. So that is what we have in the last topic in that second chapter. I hope you have gone through all the videos. I will be uploading the problems in this chapter and we'll discuss those problems after you go through all the sessions in the second chapter. Thank you.